I'm gonna reroute the thermo drive.
Electronic mail failure.
Stored forever in a virtual library.
Computers can't swim.
They can now.
Data turbines. The website. It's alive.
Movies
And mainframes.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Movies and Mainframes, the podcast that is going to explore and discuss the representation of technology in media. I am your host, Andy, and with me today is Crystal Taylor. How you doing today, Crystal?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back.
Today, we are going to talk about a movie. We are going to talk about 2018's Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cooke, Ben Mendelsohn, Mark Rylance, and Simon Pegg. Let me read a quick synopsis here, and we will jump right into our discussion. It says, in 2045, the planet is on the brink of chaos and collapse, but people find salvation in the Oasis, an expansive virtual reality universe created by eccentric James Halliday. When Halliday dies, he promises his immense fortune to the first person to discover a digital Easter egg that's hidden somewhere in the Oasis. When young Wade Watts joins the contest, he finds himself becoming an unlikely hero in a reality-bending treasure hunt through a fantastical world of mystery, discovery, and danger. All right, so Ready Player One, Crystal, you chose this movie to talk about. Talk to me about Ready Player One. What is your relationship to it?
So I'll start with my son loves this movie. I love this movie for a couple of reasons. And I do want to preface this with the fact that I do realize that there's quite a bit that is sadly realistic and quite a bit that is unrealistic. And I just accept that because movies. And also I have ashamedly never read the book. So I will preface all of my opinions with the fact that I have never read the book. And I know that that is a challenge for a lot of people. But as a gamer, I have some challenges with the premises that they explore in this movie. Like the fact that somehow in 6 years or 5 years, whatever it was, no one had ever tried to go backwards.
Exactly.
It's like the first thing you do.
Make that like it's been 4 weeks or something. That was a huge thing for me. In 6 years, gamers would have been trying clipping, doing everything, whatever you could possibly. I would have tried it, and I'm not like trying to game the system. I'd just be like, I'm bored of doing the same race every day. So.
Also, like, even if you didn't like, then there's the question of, do the other challenges get triggered by having the first key, or could you have gotten the keys in any order? Because if you could have, I don't think you could because of the way they did the clues, but like, if that means you had to have the key in order to trigger it, then that makes more sense than not. Because if you're telling me like no one went into The Shining, okay, I have questions about that anyways, but no one ever went into The Shining and saw the time ticking down, because that would be like an immediate clue that something's going on there that's not normal, because that's not what happens in The Shining. There's not paper just going.
No, exactly. So I will say I have read the books. And yeah, so whenever I first watched this movie, I saw it in the theaters. And I remember coming out of the theater and going like, it was okay. It was fine. I wasn't impressed by it. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but I was just like, whatever. And I think that's because I had just read the book. Like I knew the movie was coming out. I was like, oh, I should read it. I heard it's really good. So I read it like a year before the movie came out and really enjoyed the book. It's a fun read. It's like a great summer read. And, but I haven't really revisited the movie, and I watched it again for the podcast. And I will say, with the separation from the book,
Yes.
I enjoyed it much, much more. Like I only really have minor, tiny little gripes, but only one big gripe about the movie that I can't let go of. But but yes, there are so many. But to answer a question that you just brought up, in the book, it is discussed that you cannot trigger another key. You can't find the keys out of order.
Okay.
You can't, and the structure of the book is different. You have to find a key. You have to do a challenge to find a key. You get the key. It gives you a clue to where a gate is. And then you go put the key in the gate. And before you can get that, yay, you won, you have to complete a challenge for a gate. and then it
Oh,
gives you a clue
there's
to where the
even
next
more
key is.
challenges.
There's even more challenges, and obviously I'm not looking for a one-to-one comparison from book to movie
Right.
because you can't, and it'd be boring anyways. But the structure is different in the movie. Just key, gate, you win. Key, gate,
Yeah.
you win. But yeah, no, I like some of the things that they chose for the challenges. Like I like choosing a race. Racing games are very popular and everything, and it's nothing but eye candy. This whole
Oh,
movie is
yeah.
nothing but eye candy.
Oh, yeah.
I kept writing down, just references and things, and I was like, what am I doing? That's all this movie is, so I need to
Honestly,
stop.
because I know how these things get made a little bit of like, it's kind of impressive how much licensing they got for this movie. Like there is and a lot of it was like super popular at the time, and a lot of it is older stuff, which probably easier to get licensing for. And I was reading a bit about it earlier this morning before we recorded. And part of that is just because of his reputation, Spielberg's reputation, that people were like, yeah, sure, go make this thing.
What I love is reading that Spielberg had to be convinced to put a lot of his stuff in the movie because he was like, no, I don't want to be, vain or just whatever. And other people on the production were like, are you kidding me, Steven? Like you're
an icon.
Your work has, you're the reason Ernest Cline wrote this book, really.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, being a fan of the book, I don't know much about Ernest Cline. I've never read his bio or anything. I didn't think it was really that necessary, but I just have to imagine he's my age, like to the T. Because whenever I was reading the book, one of the things is the challenges are different, obviously, but every single challenge was just one of those moments where it was like, oh my God, was this book written for me? Like every reference, like, not only did I get, but meant a lot. So you know how in the movie they go into The Shining?
Yes.
Okay, well in the book, the Bronze Key, one of the first challenges is in the Oasis, they have this thing called flick sinks. And it's where they've created a perfect 3D render of a movie, like down to the film grain and everything. And you can pop yourself into a movie and be in the movie. And one of the first challenges is that he's popped into war games and he has to act out war games perfectly. And if he doesn't, it resets and he just has to do it over and over until he does it like Groundhog's Day. And that gives him the Bronze Key. Obviously, you can't do that for film. That'd be super boring to watch somebody.
Well, yeah, to watch them go through an entire other film.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, I love war games. I could totally do this challenge. Let's do it. But yeah, let's just jump right into it because you brought up The Shining and you kind of had this face. What do you think about this Shining challenge?
So several things. One, I think it is hilarious and great that H had never seen The Shining, but the spoiler alert, because we're going to do this anyways, but spoiler alert, the 11-year-old has clearly already seen the movie.
Yeah.
Which, okay, sure. But I find all of that bit like very funny. I think it's great that they did that. Every time I think of it though, whenever I'm watching the movie, I go, The Shining? If I was going to go into a book, I definitely would not pick a horror book. Why is this a thing anyone wants to do? Like,
right. I know.
No thanks. Especially because if you die in the Oasis, so presumably if you died in the book, and we see it happen to the Sixers when they're in there and they're getting killed by the lady with the axe, and they've done it up. He's like made it bigger and like more exaggerated than it was in the actual movie of The Shining. But like when they get killed, they die in the Oasis, so they lose all their stuff. So like, why would you ever pick a horror movie to go into? Like, I understand for this, like it's the challenge, so everyone's going there because you want to win this billion, trillion, whatever dollar company. I get that, but like outside of that,
exactly.
You can go into any movie. I'm gonna pick a horror film. No thanks.
Man, I'm a huge fan of The Shining, and whenever they go through the theater doors and there's that perfect render of the
Yes.
Overlook Hotel, I got goosebumps because I was like, oh my God, it looks so good. And uh, love what they did with it. My only complaint is just the kind of clunkiness with the zombie ghosts dancing and jumping on them. It was just like, okay, I get
Well,
it. It's supposed to be a game, but like you have a hedge maze, like just make the maze more of the game.
see,
And
for me, that didn't
yeah,
bother me as much. And I think it's because it's clearly not supposed to be there. Like, he injected this code into The Shining. It doesn't belong there. So the fact that it's a
that's
little bit
true.
clunky kind of makes sense. And maybe that's not the way you were supposed to get across, jumping on
Yeah,
zombies and whatever. Like, maybe that's not the way you were supposed to get to the end. That's just how she did it. I'm okay with all of that because that's how it would work in a video game of like, oh, well, someone's going to solve this problem the way it definitely was not designed to be solved.
right. No, that's true. That makes sense.
So that didn't bother me as much because it's not supposed to be there. It's not part of The Shining.
Yeah. So going back to the beginning of the movie, this movie takes
Yes.
place in 2045. We catch up with Wade Watts in Ohio. He lives in the stacks, which I love the look of them. They're just, ugh. It
Oh,
looks,
it's depressing. And the
yeah,
whole like overlay during this is they're basically talking about how shitty the world is. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to curse. How terrible the world is.
yeah,
And basically everyone goes into the Oasis to escape from the world, which real
yeah.
talk. That's where we're going.
No,
But
if the,
they mentioned the corn syrup droughts and the bandwidth riots, and I find that so funny on so many levels. Like,
I
what?
agree. I had to write it down. So, okay, corn syrup droughts. So we're obviously in a Dust Bowl period. Corn's drying up, but we're concerned about corn syrup, not
It's
just
America. We would be concerned about
crops.
our lack
Yeah,
of corn syrup.
that's true.
It's in all of our sweet goods.
I need my Diet Pepsi. And then bandwidth riots.
Yeah.
So
And they don't illuminate either of these things at all. Like, there's no further in interesting facts. It's never brought up again. It's just at the beginning, but it really sticks with you where you're like, what?
exactly. So do you think you think the bandwidth riots is like throttling communities or tiers of people, or do you think it's like a net neutrality thing where we're only the top dogs are getting the bandwidth and that's what's causing the riots?
Okay, based on one thing that happens in the movie and a thing that happens in real life, I think it's kind of both. So they do later when Sorrento is like, I'm gonna hire you and we're gonna give you whatever, 5 million a year or something. It was 4 or 5 million a year. And then we're gonna put you up in a penthouse apartment. And he specifically mentions the high-speed internet connection as part of that. So I think there's some elitism happening. So there's some bit of that. And then also a thing that happens in real life, which is bandwidth throttling. I think it's probably both because as Sorrento proves throughout the movie, corporations are greedy. And that would include ISPs. I think it's probably both. I think it's interesting too, the way that the stacks are set up. Like they're stacks of manufactured homes that have been kind of piled on top of each other. I guess because property costs too much, because this still takes place in America and America has a lot of space. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine in just 20 years that we're going to be out of space. Maybe that's because I live in Texas, but
it's for sure just those homes splitting the cost of a plot, so it just cuts down further.
I find it also interesting the way, so he gets down by like a pulley system or whatever that he's got set up to take these like wires down part way, and you walk downstairs part way, and it's a little weird to me. It's very janky, and it's supposed to, I think, illuminate that it's like a poor neighborhood. Like we've stacked everyone on top of each other and they're all sharing space and whatever else in here. But it's very strange to me. I also, it takes the time to show you that basically like everyone is in the Oasis. So there's like an old person that's boxing, which I found funny. And then there's like a young kid that's like playing some sort of instrument, and then like a keyboard or something. Like it looks like they're playing music. Sorry. And And then there's like, it's like a good mix of people that are still in the real world. And I have so many questions about how actual jobs work in this world.
Right.
Like if you don't work for IOI and you have like a regular job, because they still need like food, right? They still have to eat groceries and like that kind of stuff. Like, how does any of that work if they spend all of their time in the Oasis? I mean, theoretically, they could get stuff delivered and like the drones maybe could do a lot of the work. But like, how is anyone paying for all this stuff? Because it's made clear throughout the movie that it's like synonymous. You're spending real world money. You're getting stuff in the Oasis. It gives you real world things, real world money. Like all of these things are going back and forth consistently, which does happen in games even today. Like people pay for characters and stuff like that. Like that's a thing. Not even counting like in-game transactions, but like I got a friend who has been who plays a text-based RPG, like an old school one, and will go build up a character and like build all these things and then can sell that character in real life for real money. Like that's still a thing that occurs. So that is like not unbelievable to me that this is a thing that we're doing. But like, how do regular jobs work?
Yeah, so that's a question I had too, because they don't talk about AI or anything like this in the movie. So I think that I think like in one particular instance, like, oh, I'm a student and I put on the Oasis to go to my virtual classroom that's actually taught by a teacher, like who's also in the Oasis. And so they are getting a salary, but there's just no brick and mortar building. They're just using a space in the Oasis. And I think, that's just one job, but I think there's plenty of jobs. And we see that Parsifal gets points and can redeem those points for actual in real world goods because he gets the X1 suit and everything like that.
Suit. Yes. Exactly. We should dig into that. That's a whole situation.
Oh, absolutely.
I did want to real quick before we go off of schools, because they show schools 2 times in the movie that I can remember. So in the first part, it's that they broadcast Halliday's like virtual eulogy
Willy
to
Wonka
everyone,
style.
including to all the kids in school, which is like, hold on.
Yeah.
I have so many questions about that. Why was this the choice that you were making is like to do your own eulogy and then broadcast it basically to the entire world, no matter where they are. I mean, it's a several $1 trillion company, so I can imagine it definitely making the news and like being broadcast, but the way it was like live broadcast to like the tablets or whatever that they had and all of that. And I'm like, these are like 6 and 7-year-olds just watching this guy talk about how he's dead. It's just like mind blowing to me. And then the second, and they're in a classroom. They're physically in a classroom. So it's not a virtual classroom. They just have these like clear tablets that have the stuff on them. Right. So that is the thing that's happening. And then later, whenever they're like towards the end of the movie, when they're in the big battle and it shows all the people like fighting on the street and whatever, they're all in the Oasis, but they're like out in the street in real life, which, come on, that's not safe. Who's doing that?
No, exactly.
But there's all these kids like fighting and stuff. It's cute. It's funny. It gets the point across that like everybody's invested in this, but also there's a point, I guess, right before that where they show school again. And I think they're still in like physical schools, but so that's interesting. Like you would think that would be one of the first use cases is like virtual school though.
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't know, a gambling planet. But then this is real life. And in real life, it would also be a gambling planet first.
Oh, for sure.
Immediately.
Yeah.
We want to make money.
Huge. Yeah. DraftKings planet. Speaking of the school and whenever we see everybody in the Oasis, one thing I like about this movie that you can tell they really took the time and thought about it is that everybody doesn't have the same device.
Yes.
Like the Oasis
there's different
goggles.
Versions of the goggles. There's wired, there's wireless. They have different haptic feedback options. Yeah.
No, which I really love. And same thing with the kids in the school and the pads. Like everybody has like a different style pad and everything. It's not this uniform blanket, generic movie style. They really thought about like, no, I mean, some people have iPads, iPad minis, Samsungs, Asus, so I like that they took the time to do that. And one of the things in the school that I was like, oh man, that's really cool. I wish I had one of those, was the tabletop screen. you could
Yes.
tell it could hinge down and be a clear surface desk. But then if you want to, you can hinge it up and then it's just a see-through touch screen and everything. I was like, oh, that's super cool. I want one of those.
Yeah, there was that. And then later when Sorrento's doing the board presentation, the like projector screen is also like a touchscreen TV. And that also got me where I was like, oh, it does both. It does all the things. You can use it.
Yeah.
I could see that becoming a reality. That one. Because tech companies like to use stuff. But yes.
No, I know. Yeah, all the screen, nothing felt crazy ridiculous. I mean, really the only thing that was, I'm trying to think if there was anything that was just like, what? Come on. Because like even the haptic suit, like I know in the movie, like they show it glowing. And I was like, well, that's a little ridiculous. But then I was like, but that's exactly what they would do.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, so I laughed the first time. I laugh every time I see it where he talks about the haptics in the crotch area, which is so funny to me.
Yeah.
But again, like later, then you see the negative side of that whenever Sorrento gets kicked in the nads. But like with the boot suit, every part of you except your head has haptic feedbacks. And
right.
this is like way towards the end of the movie, but when he's fighting Sorrento at the very end, he spends so much time kicking his head, and I'm like, why? That's doing nothing to this guy. You're not like, he has the whole setup because he's got the chair, the hamster ball chair and whatever, which the hamster ball chair is a whole nother piece of technology that I would like to get into a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's like, why would you bother? He has that, and you're trying to distract him in real life.
Yes,
because she was in the place, and he had just like offed her avatar so that she could go get out of there.
Right.
And he's trying to distract him, and he just goes for the head like several times. Although I guess when you're playing video games, it's like your first instinct to try and get a headshot. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm of two minds about it.
But also, if you are in a battle for the world, the Oasis, wouldn't you like go into settings and be like, hey, I don't want my haptic feedback suit to actually hurt me. I'll put it down to a low rumble. Yeah, or don't wear it. Like, I understand if you want to wear it for like an edge, like, oh, I can feel something by me.
Yeah.
But like, just turn down the setting to, a low little rumble like you do on your dual shock controllers or something.
Yes, especially because not that long before that, they had talked about the emotion suppressing software that he was using to like not show him freaking out when he offered him crazy amounts of money. Which, okay, in real life, if you lived in a poor neighborhood like this and someone offered you that amount of money, there are like almost no people who would not take it.
No. I would sell out
so fast.
Yeah, just couldn't wait. And for much less than that too. It would be like, $100,000, you got it, buddy.
Got it. I'm out. I don't need to be in the Oasis.
Yeah, I sleep on top of a washer and dryer.
Yeah.
In a mobile home that is, built 4 stories up. I'm good.
That reminds me of something else that I noted at the beginning of the movie, where he keeps his setup is like in a pile of cars in a van, which seems A, very unsafe, but B, why is there just a pile of cars?
Yeah.
And how does it have access to the Oasis? Like, how is he getting it there and nobody knows that he's there? Because he's clearly hiding from the aunt and her dude that's like always on him about stuff. But like, he's clearly in there to hide his stuff from them and like not have them have access to it. But like, how did you get it down there? You wired it and nobody noticed that you were wiring a pile of cars? Like, that's just normal and fine?
Yeah, apparently.
I
I don't know the details. I know they go way into detail about his setup in the book.
I gotta read that.
And yes, like all, in darkness of night, wired and power cables, all that kind of stuff running off generators. But yes, like he has to be hardwired. There's no way he's getting like Wi-Fi in that, Faraday cage he's built, basically. So
yeah.
but I love his I've only had the opportunity to be on one once, but his omnidirectional treadmill,
Yeah.
that thing is so cool. I wanted to play a game like that so bad. I know I would be winded after 15 minutes, but still.
That was the thing that I was thinking about too, is like one of the problems that we have in VR right now is that it is really challenging for most people to stay in it for more than like 30 minutes, or some people can do longer, but like more than like 2 to 4 hours, most people are like they can't do it anymore. Like it really messes with your brain. So I'm like, as a point of like theory, like how would they, I don't even know how they would have gotten past that. Like, how do you trick your brain? And I guess part of it would be the haptics and the omnidirectional feedback, because you're like, it's other things also telling your body that you're like where your eyes see you are.
Right.
So maybe that's
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it would definitely help for sure.
I also like the like AR VR combo stuff that's happening in the movie, because there's a point where they show up as holograms in the office.
Yes.
And then there's the later point where they tap into Sorrento's rig, which I have a problem with on several things. Which one is, he was in that office by hologram one time, and does he have an eidetic memory? Because that's the only way he could have remembered everything that was in that office. The exact way, because he says he made an identical replica, or they record everything that's happening when they're in the Oasis, which seems way more likely, and he could go back and reference what had happened while he was in there. That's what I was thinking was happening. But the other thing is that there is, in the second one, whenever they tapped into Sorrento's rig, he sees them in a reflection in the chair, but none of it is happening in real life. So that part bothers me a lot. Why is there a reflection? You would have had to like code that reflection in when you made this replica of the office.
Right. So I don't know.
It hurts my head.
It hurts my head too, because there is an explanation for it, but I don't think it would still work, because like ray tracing's a real thing in video games, and it's real time reflections off surfaces and everything like that. So it works in real time. It, it's already coded into the game, so it works. So depending on the weather and everything, like all that ray tracing reflects different surfaces and rain and everything. It's really, really cool. But he's in the Oasis, and it's being reflected to a real life thing. So
no, it's not. It's their characters in the Oasis. So maybe it's just the ray tracing that already exists in the Oasis rather than in their like thing that they built.
Okay,
but
so
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
They built this office, and you can see the outside. You see like the coded lines like you do with the race, which is
that's right.
An interesting way to show that. But yeah, so it is all taking place it's like Inception. It's an Oasis inside the Oasis. So maybe if in Halliday's Oasis the ray tracing code already exists, they just didn't account for it when they built the replica of the office. I can accept this. This makes my head hurt less. They didn't account for it, so then the reflective surface was just reflecting what it could see, which was them in the Oasis. I can accept this.
But the biggest thing is, wait, I'm trying to remember. In that scene, wait, this might make more sense. In that scene, he never gets up out of his hamster chair, right?
No.
He never.
Yeah, because they're holding him at gunpoint.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense, because I was going to say, like, how, even with haptic feedback, how do you not know if you're actually standing? But he never does. He's always in the chair. Yeah. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, he takes off the headset in the beginning, or they take it off of him. They take off his headset, the imaginary one, and they're already there pressuring him to stay in the chair. And then he tries to get up, and they like push him with the gun, which isn't a real gun, but again, a gun in game. So he never gets up. Also, I did want to talk about that his password is kept on a sticky note, and it's Bossman69, which
I mean, it's fitting for his character.
It is. It's
I
fitting for his
love Ben
character.
Mendelsohn in this movie. He's such a just weasel. He's so good.
He's such a classic, like, corporate
Yeah.
villain. Like, honestly.
Mm-hmm. No, it feels like he
where
should
does
be.
where does that leave us? Yeah. So I love all of the references. I feel like we could talk for like several hours about all of the references. So I'm
Do
not
you-
gonna get into it too much.
No, exactly. It's literally every frame. There's like at
Everything.
least 2 or 3 references. But did you have a favorite reference or anything? Any particular thing that pops into the movie? You're like, oh, awesome, yeah, you know.
The first time you see the Iron Giant was one for me. It's like, oh, it's
For
Iron
sure.
Giant.
I know.
It's like takes you right back to childhood. And then in the battle when he brings out Mechagodzilla and the Gundam comes out, like that's also like, who would win in a fight, Mechagodzilla or the Iron Giant and Gundam? And like, every time I see it, that's what I think of is when people do those who would win in a fight things. And I'm like, you could do that here. That's so cool.
I know. I think I didn't catch it in the theater, but I caught it this time. I think one of my favorite little, Easter eggs or whatever is during the race, there's the Adam West Batmobile.
Yes.
And the Batmobile does like a skidding to a stop. And the skidding is the Batman song. It's da 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 da.
Is it?
Yeah. So if you
That's
listen
cool.
to this, but with screeches, so it's like. And anyways,
I never noticed that.
I was like,
That's
amazing. I had to rewind it. I was like, did I imagine that? Yeah, exactly. But I love that little touch. And that's one thing that this movie, I think, did capture from the book is that, I mean, all the book is just nostalgia and, it just all that pop culture that you just love and grew up with. And I think the movie perfectly captures that too, because like we said, like every frame, like, oh my God, there's Batman. Oh my God, there's Jason. There's Chucky, just
Oh man, the
Battletoads. There's everything everywhere all the time.
And really, like the more times you watch it, especially when you get to the like battle sequence where there's more characters on screen, the more little things you spot in the background. Like they really licensed like everything.
Dude, it's insane. Yeah, the amount that they got.
Did read a little bit about the things that they didn't license from the book and why they didn't. Like one of them was Blade Runner, and it was because Blade Runner 2049 was about to come out and they didn't want to impact the movie in any way. So they were like, we got to take Blade Runner out, even though it's such a big deal in the book. What was the other one? What was the first task in the book that wasn't the race?
It was the War Games Flick Sync.
Oh, right. Now we talked about that already.
Oh,
why they didn't do that.
No, the other one that you're thinking of had to do with D&D.
Oh, yes. And,
yeah, with like the Lich, the Demi Lich, whatever guy. Because in the book, he has to play Joust. Like literally playing Joust like he does at the end of the game, playing Adventure. But he has to play Joust on a cabinet arcade against I don't know much about D&D, but he's like a Demi Lich.
Okay.
Whatever. Some, kind of famous D&D character or whatever. But yeah, I forgot why they didn't license that one. But I remember reading that too.
I'd read something about like some of it they just left out because it wasn't going to be visually interesting. Like there's a point in the book. This is what I read because I haven't read the book. Where he plays Pac-Man, and like that's also just not visually interesting. So I think that one probably went to the like we have to do one sequence where they're going to be playing an old game, and that one probably just got scrapped. Yeah,
and really, this speaks to my only main gripe about this movie, because I don't want to be one of those people who's like, but the book, but this, so. My complaint about the movie is that when they're in the Oasis in the movie, everything is that same CGI style, and it's fine that it looks fake. I don't care about that. It's a game essentially, so it doesn't matter. Yes. But everything has that slick CGI look. Where in the book, you have your avatar, you're in the lobby of the Oasis, but if you go someplace like to a world, and they even show it at the beginning of the movie where you're flying, the camera's flying through the Oasis and showing you all the possibilities. And and in the movie, they go through a Minecraft world.
Yes.
And it looks like Minecraft. Well, in the book, it's the same thing. There are sequences where that if you go to a world, it's just like a game where you take on the properties, the rendering, the physics of that game. So there are sections in the book where they are like in a side scroller or they're 8-bit. And I really wish this movie just had a segment or played around with the animation more to where it's like, oh, sweet. Now they're like in a 16-bit Sega game, or now they're...
Yeah, that would have been really cool. I want to talk about the loyalty centers and the IOI Sixers in general. Like the whole IOI thing is like maniacal overlord corporate stuff that if anyone's honest, they could see happening in real life, right? Like they want the money. The 80% before you have seizures thing, I wrote that quote down because I was like, oh man, God, that's terrible. We can sell up to 80% of your field of view before you start having seizures. That makes that an acceptable limit, which is wild. But the
which means they've tested it. So they've induced seizures and found the sweet spot.
This is the spot we got to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they have the loyalty centers, which obviously are bad. It's like debt collection times a million now, because they take you in and they put you in this tiny pod and you're hooked up to everything and you can't take anything off. You're literally like, this seems like it has to break laws. Like there's no way that anyone would be like, yeah, go ahead, take the people right off the street. You get to arrest them. Like, what kind of a weird corporate future are we living in? Which just makes me think of Cyberpunk and the corpos. But like, what kind of terrible future is this in where like a corporation can arrest you and put you in effectively prison? And then in the Oasis, they're basically in like a prison camp. So they have them in the orange jumpsuits, and the thing that got me was like he shocks her in the Oasis and it shocks her in the pod.
Right.
Which, how would that work? I don't know how that would work, but so yeah, like all of that stuff, I'm like, this seems inhumane. Like, how did they get
100%. Yeah. And that's another thing about this movie is that there are, and I understand you're not going to like spend a lot of time with aftermaths and scenes and stuff, but this corporation's blowing up the stacks. They're doing gun battles, chases through the streets and everything. There's zero police presence anywhere
until the very end.
There's drone surveillance happening in and around everywhere.
Cool, yeah,
and
the drone set the charges and like all of this stuff. Like nobody noticed.
But then, it isn't until the very end for the typical Hollywood ending of like, hey, when we're all here and we're gonna stop you, that there's police. Like when they showed up, I was like, oh, so there are police here. I thought IOI was just like your god of especially because they say Columbus is like the hub because that's where Halliday's from.
Which goes back to my original question of like, how do they do normal jobs?
You're
like, what do the police do? If everyone spends all of their time in the Oasis, do they also police the Oasis? Or do they because we have like cybercrime divisions and stuff already now, but like, is that a thing they would have to do? Have like a whole division that's just for the Oasis? And like, I don't know. See, I have it just gives me more questions of like how this world works.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's breaking my brain too.
Sorry.
Because like Holiday made it, so obviously, but like
it's obviously still a privately owned company. If the Easter egg gives you full control of the company, so it's still a privately owned company this entire time. So is this just like a cyberpunky corporate America took over the actual like day-to-day ruling of the country, or like?
I don't know. And if it's a privately owned company and your Holiday or Simon Pegg's character, Morrow,
Yeah.
like you would think that after hearing about things like loyalty centers and everything, that they would like
Do
restrict
something.
Yeah, or like restrict access already, like to
Yeah.
those IPs or whatever, and be like, no, if you're coming from a loyalty center, you don't have access, shutting them down. But they're totally cool with this indentured servitude that IOI has set up, where you don't even have to have anything with IOI. Because they show like they can just buy any of your debt.
Yeah, we consolidated your debt.
You had an old medical bill. We bought it. We own you now. Like, it's terrible.
I could have spent no time in the Oasis, and all of a sudden you buy all my debt, and I'm in a loyalty center. Like, that's wild.
I only had like 4 more car payments. Nuh-uh. Now we're gonna extend it out because of all these fees and whatever. That's terrible.
That's too real. That does happen where debt collectors they buy your debt and then extend it out.
Absolutely.
But like it's wild to me to think like, how does that work? And is it just because Ogden Morrow spends all his time in the Oasis trying to help people without helping them? Because like certain things happen throughout the movie that I think like maybe this is the only way it works is if Ogden Morrow is setting the Oasis to showcase stuff. Like the fact that the last challenge is broadcast everywhere once he starts it. Not when the other guy started it, only when he starts it, which was also weird. See, that's another question because all the Sixers don't have keys. So how are they accessing each challenge? Because they just like look at the Sixers. Earlier, we talked about how you needed the key to access the next challenge, right? You had to have gotten the first key to get to the second challenge.
How are
whatever.
all of those people
How are
playing?
all of the Sixers? Because they're constantly like dying, right? They're just fodder. They're just cannon fodder to throw at the challenge until they can break through it, right? Like they're trying to brute force attack it. And that shouldn't be possible because they don't have the keys. No, and it was proven when the cataclysm happens at the end of the movie and everybody dies, except for he has the free life. Everybody dies. So they all lose their stuff. So every time that you die, you lose the keys that you had acquired. You'd have to reacquire the keys. So all of these Sixers being able to access these challenges shouldn't be possible.
No, exactly. They should have been through that warehouse in no time.
Yeah.
And you're stuck like resetting the game and having to get the keys again, not being at Planet Doom. Well, they set up spawn points there, so that's how they got there so quickly, and that's fine. But like that I can accept. We pay that's a pay to win thing. We pay to have a spawn point here. I can accept that as a thing that happens. But they shouldn't have been able to. But maybe that's why they didn't have it broadcast, right? The only one that had it broadcast was Parzival because he's the only one who accessed it that had 2 keys already. Right.
But that's why I think that Ogden Morrow is paying it. He's paying way too much attention to things that are happening in the Oasis and not enough attention to things happening in the world, which is the whole theme of the movie. But like, because things like that happen throughout, like stuff gets broadcast randomly. Like, how did Parzival broadcast to the entire Oasis on his own? I refuse to accept that he could have just turned to push a button and like everybody sees it. Somebody had to have helped.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because that's like me getting on YouTube and expecting
everyone to watch immediately.
Everybody in the entire world to watch. It's like, no, it doesn't. Yeah. So absolutely.
And then later, of course, it's revealed that Ogden Morrow is the curator, which means that he's been involved with this whole process since the very beginning. And so that's where he spends all his time in the archives or whatever, the holiday journals.
Exactly. So I'm assuming, it has to be. I'm assuming the archives have business hours because he's just there
just him.
All the time. Like that's his job. He's just wearing a headset and in the Oasis just
24/7
hamming up his accent and just like hello, whatever. So that's insane that he's like,
talk about,
this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. Until somebody gets it. I didn't think this was gonna take 5 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? But we should talk about the holiday journals because that place is super cool. Technology wise, all of the he obviously didn't keep all of his memories. He kept specific memories, but like the way
Right.
that they have stored the memories, the technology behind it is really interesting to me because like they're all shown in third person. So
Yes.
that would mean that all of these things were either recorded by a separate camera or they found some way to code it to where it looks that way, even though it was actually from Halliday's point of view. Or did they collect Halliday's point of view and Ogden's point of view and then like mash them together to like make one third person view narrative?
So there's a throwaway line where he says that everything that Halliday did, like every meeting or whatever he had in, I forgot the name of the gaming company.
Oh yeah, I forgot to.
It's not Derivative Games, but it's something whatever. He said that Gregorius, thank you. That he recorded everything. So I'm assuming these are like the equivalent of nice security cameras or, you know, webcams or something like that. But yes, and then they put it in a nice 3D render because I love that they can change the angle.
Yeah, zoom in, rewind.
Yeah, you can change the perspective of what you're looking at. It's really neat.
That's some real confidence though, that like that early on in the process he was like, this is gonna be big, I'm gonna record everything. Like that's some good confidence.
Yeah,
because they were in like a super tiny office when the memory of where he talked about going on the date with Kira or whatever Moro's wife was, like that's like a super tiny, clearly we're still in the startup phase of this situation office.
No, agreed. And also during that scene where he finds out the clue to, I just wish we could go back, you know, or whatever. This is a challenge that's been 6 years in the making. Nobody's gone
the first person
crazy.
that waited.
But he says he's watched this clip 1,000 times. And at no point during this clip, whenever the guy, you know, whenever I'm blanking on his name now. Halliday. Whenever Halliday stands front and center in front of the camera, who's basically looking at you and giving this monologue, that's the first time you latch onto it. Like it doesn't even feel part of the scene.
Is that because that part was triggered by him having the first key though?
But he didn't have a key at that point. That was the first challenge. I just wish we could go back. I wish we could go back.
Yeah. Somebody would have already gotten that.
Yeah.
And also the other part of the holiday journals that you see. So there's two other things that I want to talk about for that space. There's the movie thing. Like, do they have all movies or just movies that Halliday watched? And who keeps track of that? How does Ogden Morrow keep track of that?
Yeah, exactly. No,
he's like a search engine.
I don't know. I have no idea. I would have to assume that it's just, and that's the other thing. Like, how is Halliday? I mean, I know money, you know, is the solution to a lot of problems, but like the Kubrick estate is totally cool with just Halliday buying up the rights so they can put The Shining in. Or say anything or whatever, or all movies. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then also, the other thing I want to talk about for the Halliday Journal space is that there is a point, like right after he gets the first key, where he becomes like insta famous. He walks into the Halliday Journal's building, and he gets swarmed by people, right? And it's like, oh, Percival, you know, like everybody wants to know how he did it. And she comes up as Goro, which was so funny, and takes him into like effectively a back room. Like she found the back door to the code of the Halliday journals.
Yep, she clipped through a wall.
She just knew that was there.
Yeah,
and no one else has ever found it, and it doesn't, like, you can't do anything with it. It's just like I find it like. Because it looks similar to how they show the back end of like the other code. So like when he's doing the race backwards, and you can see it, like they did the visual effects the same. So for all of those pieces of where like you're in the code or like you're in a backdoor or whatever.
And so whenever
I was like, how did she get?
No, I know. And whenever she does it, there's not like, 100 people going like, "Oh, sweet, you can clip through this wall,"
Yeah.
and then like everybody
'cause
starts
Goro
flooding
is
in, like,
massive.
"Oh, awesome!" Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not hiding. Just like, "Oh yeah, Goro just went through a wall." No, I'll leave it. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, no big deal. It's fine. I'll just give up. Yeah, there's a lot of those little things that bother me as a gamer, where like my son is 14 and the first thing he does in every game he plays is try to clip through the walls. He tries to break the game immediately. You're trying to tell me all these people all around the world are playing in the Oasis and they don't consistently try to break stuff?
Exactly.
And also, who's keeping up with the code of the Oasis? Like, who's keeping this? Who's maintaining it? Who's running this thing? I mean, obviously, Halliday wasn't doing everything on his own by the end, but like, why are those people not trying to be like, take over the company? Easter egg? That's bullshit. That's no way to take over a company.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's like, pull the sword from the stone. You'll be the king of England. It's the same kind of bizarre, like, why would this be the thing that determines the next person who takes over all this? Not the best person for the job, just the person who was the most obsessed with Halliday.
Yeah.
Which is a real narcissistic thing to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the reality of running a thing like the Oasis. We already in real life have issues getting the chips for things, right? Like we have supply chain issues and we have the issues getting the materials to make them. We're already having this problem with the crypto mining and stuff like that. So like, and obviously it's causing problems with global warming and all, like it's affecting the planet. So like none of that is, this thing would be intense to run locally at like each little station that every person has, and like the backend servers that run the whole thing. Like, how would they manage to get the materials? Because it still exists on Earth. They didn't try and put it in like some other world, fantasy world. It's
right.
Very definitely Earth, and we have finite resources. So I just want to know how they explain that away. How does this work? How is it not like overheated the planet by the time we're in 2046 with the massive amount of computing power and use up all the computing resources?
I think it has. I mean, we're in the corn syrup droughts. So.
Oh my God, I forgot about that already.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we are destroying the planet.
Oh, man.
But no, exactly. I mean, it's the amount of work that would go into maintaining and running this thing and just building it, all the infrastructure, everything.
It would be massive. You would need a company like IOA, like the size of IOI, to take management care over it, maintenance.
Yeah.
Because you might be winning $1 trillion company, but imagine the maintenance costs on this thing.
That's ridiculous. And nobody says it, but, or maybe it is like in a throwaway line, but access to the Oasis is absolutely free.
Yeah.
Like there's no subscription service. But
there's a lot of pay to win stuff in there. So.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, they have a whole gambling planet. There's you buy anything you want for gear and stuff
now,
like that.
mobile games have become so big because they're also like pay to win. They make so much money.
True.
Gaming companies are changing direction to go more mobile games because they make so much money. And most of them are free to start.
Yep.
So it's the same kind of trap, I think. One of the other things that I think was interesting about the Oasis is that it's like a brief throwaway thing where she sits in Sorrento's rig and she goes to like look up it's when she's trying to get the counter spell for the Orb of Osbox.
Yes.
And it's like Nancy Drew and then Kegels for Men. She passes by, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean that it's like a normal computer, it also has other stuff on it, or all of this stuff exists in the Oasis?
No.
Like, is the Oasis just taken over for the internet?
Yeah, good point. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's my like big question that comes out of all of this. Is like, is Oasis just like an evolution of the internet? We're now just like Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet style. We all just loaded up into the internet and then like they made us a GUI for it, and this is just what we're all in the internet.
I feel like it has to be a separate thing. There's no way.
Yeah.
I want to look something up, I have to go into the Oasis, or I'm accessing the Oasis. I think the Oasis has access to the internet.
Sure.
So sure, you can get the internet in the Oasis, but it's still got to be a separate entity. And I feel like when she's in his rig, she's accessing his computer,
right.
essentially, like his files, his whatever. And I feel like that's how when they can hack into his rig, that's how they're getting perfect 3D renders of his office, because they have access to his security cams or all that stuff, what the holograms see and everything like that. Like, that's how they get the 3D render, not, an
Really?
autodidact of like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. 3 inches away from the telephone is a lamp that looks like, whatever.
It's just the way that he said it. Like, it's an identical replica. And I was like, you didn't make that on your own. Like, there's no way you remembered that from one time you were a hologram and you weren't even really there. Like, also, I guess they would only have to tap into the headset because he's still wearing it. So it could just it would just be like AR. They wouldn't even have to do anything. They can just do
exactly.
Like a combination of AR, VR, AR being the holograms or whatever, them being put into it. I don't know.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't still see that reflection.
Yeah. That reflection catches me every time. I'm like, why is that there?
I know. It got me too. I was like, there should be something else. There should be do the Total Recall, like, oh, he's sweating, but he's not sweating because he's in the Oasis. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. I want to ask you a couple questions.
Go.
I love Total Recall. It'll be coming up in the pocket. Pick it next season.
I will
do it. Okay. So you are going to participate in this race at the beginning for the first key. What is the vehicle of your choice?
That's hard.
I'll give you some time for me. I am taking it's so dumb, but I, for some odd reason, love it. I'm picking the truck from the 80s television show, Simon and Simon. That is I
have never heard of that show.
Okay, so there's no reason to, but it's got Gerald McCreary in it, and I forget the other actor's name, but they're two brothers that solve crime. It's basically Murder, She Wrote with two brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, but the gruff brother drives this beat up brown, slightly orangish. It's a orangish pickup truck with like a brush guard and everything. It just looks like a cool, mean, beat up old truck. Nice. And I was like, just
Your
always been
answer is
obsessed
so
with
much
it.
better than mine. My answer is so boring, but in reality, it would probably be the Shelby GT500 Mustang, specifically from Gone in 60 Seconds, because I absolutely love that movie for
a beautiful car.
Real reason.
Yeah.
I love that movie for a bunch of silly things, but like,
I think you love it for Memphis Reigns.
The GT500, the GT500. That's nice. Probably like, when I think of cars, like that's the first car that pops in my head of like, that would be what I would pick. And it's a car that would be meant for racing. You gotta open her up.
Okay. End of the movie, they play Adventure with the which I'm super bummed. I had an Atari 2600, played just everything I could get my hands on. We had Adventure. I never knew about the Easter egg, and so I was like, oh man, I want to play it again. But if you had to play a final game to win the key, what game are you picking? What game would you hope it would be?
Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
You had that answer.
I've played it like 5 or 6 times at least already, nice. All the way through. I love that game. And it's not like too big. Like the newer games are so big. Like if it was going to be something hidden in there, it would take forever to find. So you'd have to pick an older game. And my first gaming console was an NES. So like I don't have any. We never had an Atari, so like I have no concept of like any of those games. My brain is like, yeah, cool. I'll just accept that's real. It could be a real game. It could be a fake game. I'll never know.
Yeah, and then I would probably pick. I don't know. I think my favorite game series, just of all time right now, is Uncharted. So
it's good. It's a great game series.
Yeah, they're just, you're playing Indiana Jones, the movie. Yeah. It's great. I love it. So one little tidbit I thought was interesting is that Warner Brothers tried to convince Christopher Nolan to direct this movie.
And instead he did Interstellar?
No,
Or
this
he
would have been
just
the
got
movie.
done with Interstellar.
He just got done with Interstellar. He went on to do probably what would have been Dunkirk or something around that
Yeah.
time. So,
That
but
would have
yes,
been a
I
very different movie.
very different. I don't think it would have been as playful.
No.
And yeah,
I feel
it
like
would
Spielberg gets that irreverent kind of aspect in a lot of his movies where it's like we're making a little bit of fun of ourselves, and we're also
absolutely.
here to have a good time. So and I don't feel like Christopher Nolan movies have any of that. So they're very serious or like very actiony. So it would have been a
Yeah,
very different movie and probably not as enjoyable.
I agree. I think
Also, don't think Christopher Nolan could have pulled off getting as many IPs as Spielberg did.
no way, no way, and just yeah, no way. It would. All his movies feel like we are not here to have fun. We are here for
Yeah,
serious business. I want
serious,
everybody focused.
serious
No,
business
nobody's
only.
sitting down. Everybody has to stand up. Like what?
Yeah.
Calm down, dude. We're all here for the same reason. You're in the Oasis. What is your avatar? What are
Oh,
you
I
looking at?
always make my avatars sort of look like me, but like what I want to look like. So they always have pink hair,
Mm-hmm.
always. And they usually have some cute style. I go a lot for the double buns, even though I don't do that in real life. And like half my characters have braids or double buns. But if I can have pink hair, I will have pink hair in a video game.
Nice.
And then otherwise it's just a girl that looks like me. I don't have any special. I do like the idea of changing outfits and hairstyles and stuff all the time. I think that's cool. I like how they did
Mm-hmm.
it in the movie where it's kind of just like seamless. It just happens because that's
Yeah,
how it happens in games. You just change it and
exactly. Yeah,
all of a sudden you have a weapon out in town because you changed your equipment.
yeah. Oh, I love her weapon of choice in the club fight. It's Ripley's machine gun from the Alien
Yes.
franchise because I recognize the sound and I was like, oh yeah, good choice, Ellen Ripley. No, for some odd reason, anytime I can create a character and make it look like, you know, as anything I want to look at, like Fallout or Cyberpunk or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I all for some odd reason I always try to make my character look like Lance Reddick. Do you know
Okay.
who that is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just love, R.I.P.
He's
But
got
I
a great,
love Liz.
well, yeah. He
Yeah,
had a great voice.
yeah, great voice. He's got a great look. I loved him as an actor, and so I think it started it with like Fallout 4 or somewhere around there. I was just
Mm.
like, that's when
Oh,
I
this
just started
guy.
like
I want to be this
doing.
guy.
Yeah, I want to be Lance Reddick. Let's do this. But
When he was in the Horizon games, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon
mhm.
Forbidden West.
Which wasn't expecting, and when he
I
popped up, I was like,
know.
what?
What's happening? Yeah.
Two of my favorite things marrying together, and I didn't make it happen. Perfect.
Oh, actually, I want to talk about the anti-gravity dance floor and the fight that happens in that. And the only reason I want to talk about that is because the whole point of this is that you're like in VR while this is happening. And
Right.
how many people would be okay on an anti-gravity dance floor? Like you would be barfing your guts up.
For sure.
Unless you were like a trained astronaut. There's little like pieces of technology that take me a little bit out of this being able to be a reality because your brain would not adjust properly for it. Like it
No,
has nothing to do with the actual technology and more to do with like your brain is like, this is not normal and is not okay. I would not be okay with this.
and that's another thing. Like, okay, they show people fighting in the street, like
Yes.
physically punching, kicking, everything like that. There would be so many traffic
Accidents.
related fatalities.
Yes.
It should be an epidemic, because I love all the videos when Apple Vision Pro came out and just
Yeah.
dudes walking down the street like, oh my
Mm.
God,
Yeah.
you're going to fall down a manhole, into a gutter, get hit by a car, whatever.
Yeah.
But so you're doing these actions, you get on a treadmill. Obviously there has to be options for walking, traveling, doing stuff without the use of legs, because I'm assuming the Oasis is all inclusive. But how, especially on a anti-gravity dance floor, how are you manipulating like, because they just show him
Yeah.
sitting there getting felt up on his haptic suit. But like, how is he controlling, like, and now I'm twisting around you, and now I'm going and dipping and everything? Like, it's just, huh?
Yeah. How would the control work? I don't know. Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, like, thinking about all the people in the streets and all of that, like, there's clearly different levels of integration that you can have with the controls. But, yeah, I don't know how any of that would possibly work. Like, it's an interesting concept. And
Yes.
you could have it in a video game where you were using a controller.
Yes.
But I don't see how it works with like motion
Because
control.
it can't read your mind. So you're not controlling it through thought.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything in his hands. He doesn't have like a little thumbstick or anything to be like,
No.
oh, now I'm twisting and doing everything. And but they're just beautifully choreographed. And it's not even a beat game. Like, I'd almost wish it was like when you get on the dance floor, it turns into a beat game. So they're like, I think it would have been funny if you saw them like doing pre-planned motions while they're having these, conversations like, I love you, but wait, hold on, I got to press over here with my
you
foot,
don't know who
whatever.
I am. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. I think that would have been really funny and would have been like apropos of what you would actually need to have. Like, it would need to be a quick time event or like something that you couldn't possibly do it with motion controls. Not in zero. If it was just regular dancing, like when they bust out the like 70s dance floor, that's fine. But like outside of that, my brain can't wrap around that whole scene in there where they're dancing, they jump onto the anti-gravity. Like, my brain is just like, that would throw me for a whole loop. Like, you would be vomiting. It would not be great.
Yeah, all the stuff with movement and proximity is just completely made up and weird for the movie. Like, we already talked about the dancing, but like, whenever they fight and escape that club, like, what are the motions you're going through? Like, you're just...
Wouldn't you just log out?
Yeah, like it's... Oh yeah, that's another point. Like, wouldn't you just take off the headset and like they're gone? They can't kill your avatar. You're good.
Log out. Well, I mean, they could have a measure against that, like in some games where, like, if you're in a fight, you can't access that part. Like,
you're just engaged. Otherwise, you automatically lose or whatever.
Yeah, like, but once you exit combat, maybe that's whenever you can leave. But like, still, she like physically walks away from him, specifically in that scene after the dance. She physically walks away from him and leaves him like on the floor. And the implication is that she like walked away and then like left the planet or whatever. But why wouldn't you just like, I'm pissed off.
Bye.
Yeah, log out.
Also, so the other thing is that whole club area has been coded for battles. Like, that implies that there are no quote unquote safe zones in the Oasis. I could just be having like a nice stroll along a park on a beautiful resort planet, and then IOI can come in and massacre everybody. I could be on Minecraft world, and then they bust through and just mow down everybody.
Just like in real life, some 11-year-old could go troll a whole planet of vacationers. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's no like zones meant for different areas. Yeah. So they coded that whole place to like be able to, walls can bust down and destruct and environment reacting to everything. So yeah, it's super weird when you think about it that way. It's like, IOI can just go anywhere in the Oasis
haven't they
and
just
start
been doing that?
Yeah.
Just collecting all the money. Everyone comes to the loyalty centers. We're going to send people to go kill you, collect all their money. Like, because I do like the way that the loot drops on the ground and then people just pick it up or, hoover it up.
Yeah.
Because that's very video gamey. But like, which also at the end when iRock dies and he's like, I got 10 years worth of stuff. And it's like this huge, massive, like dragon's hoard worth of gold. I was like, that's amazing. But, after the cataclysm, does all of that stuff just stay on the planet because no one was there to pick it up?
I assume so. And, whatever Parsifal walks by, just starts getting hoovered up. But, I mean, after that cataclysm, create your new character and get to that planet as fast as you can.
It would just be a constant battle zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's true.
Never-ending war on planet Doom.
But yeah, if no spaces were saved, definitely people would be out there trolling kids on the Minecraft world or whatever. Like, let me go just farm these newbies. People do noob farming in regular games now, like any online MMO. It's like, oh, this is a spawn point. I'll just sit here. We'll spawn camp. Like, that's a thing people do in real life. So, like, I could see that if there was no true safe zones, that being a thing in the Oasis.
All right. Well, we can sit here and talk about this movie all day, but I think we covered all the points we want to talk about. Crystal, thank you again for joining me for today's conversation.
Thank you for having me on. I greatly enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Can't wait for the next one. And thank you, listeners, for listening. Wherever you're listening, please rate and subscribe. It really helps. And also, I want to hear from you. Please head over to thwack.com, look for Movies and Mainframes, leave me a comment. And you can always reach me at moviesandmainframes at SolarWinds.com. I want to hear from you. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Movies and Mainframes. We are going to log off. And until the next time, we will catch you later. Bye, everyone.
Movies
And Mainframes.